Car 16, Alan Grice, in partnership. Well, it's car 7 there. Yes, it is 7, Crompton. And of course the other team car, the 16 car, driven by Alan Grice and Win Percy, defending champions here at Mount Panorama, race winners last year, running strongly again this time, as is this car. Brad Jones has had his opening stint handed over to Crompton.
The car still running outside the top 10. Brad Jones got it up to the top 10 before they had their first stop, and now it's running in 11th position. So Crompton grinding his way back from 15th after the stop.
And just ahead of him there, the second and third place men. John Bow at the wheel of the second place car looks to make a move on the inside of the Glen Seaton Hansford Sierra. He's going to have to sit there for a little bit longer.
Yes, well, this will be a bit of a grudge match. These guys have been the main Ford adversaries in the Touring Car Championship this year. Glen Seaton has certainly come out ahead on the results sheet and the point sheet, and I'm sure the Shell team would like to continue their Bathurst record. Oh,
lost another one.
Now that might be the same car. You get a look at it side on. If it's 44, it's dumped another wheel. 43.
Sister car.
The team car. So there's 3 Sierras have lost the left front wheel. Sorry, is that the left front?
That's the right front.
The right front,
yeah.
sorry. And left and right-hand drive cars, very confusing.
Your
so
left
another
hand
one
never did know what the right hand was doing.
Another one will limp down the hill.
Well, wretched luck for Brian Bolwell, who took a big gamble and put up the money to take over these 2 former Tony Longhurst Sierra. Oh, that sets your teeth on edge, doesn't it? It'll set a few other people's teeth on edge too if they come on him very suddenly down this part of the circuit.
Deary me.
It's going to be a long and damaging haul on the way home. Car 35, that's Wayne Park. The second Seaton car is in the pits. Big problems here.
Engine stalled after their pit stop. The guys having a look underneath it. And it's not nice when a Ford Sierra stops in the pits. The turbocharged engines are running very hot. They suffer from a lot of heat sake if the engine shuts down in the middle of the pits. And our stick cam shows underneath the car.
Car was running in 10th position.
Great innovation is stick cam, pole cam, whatever you want to call it, to a large degree developed by Peter Threlfall from our studios at BTQ Channel 7 in Brisbane. And voila, after years of wondering what went on beneath these cars on race day, you now know. Can't get first gear in that car, apparently.
The car was running in 10th place, but now with this pit stop, I guess Crompton will move up to the top 10.
And the other team car has now dropped back to 3rd. Hansford has been passed by John Bow. So Bow now runs in 2nd, and Hansford in Glen Seaton's car there runs in 3rd.
Let's check out our Caltex race score in the Tooheys 1000. The full field. Richard Scaife lead the field, the Nissan GTR. Hansford Seaton 2nd, Johnson Bow 3rd. And of course that's just changed with Johnson moving into 2nd place, or Bow at the wheel moving into 2nd place. Percy and Grice in 4th place, Radicic and Shield in 5th position.
6th at the moment, the Perkins Mazzara Mobil 1 Commodore. 7th, Gibson Onslow with their GTR. In 8th, Longhurst and Jones with the little BMW. 9th, Brancatelli and O'Brien with the first of Alan Moffat's Sierras. And 10th, Parsons and Park still in the pits at the moment.
Neil Crompton moves up to 10th after that pit stop. In 12, car 9, the Mill and Brabham, 2nd of the Moffat Sierras. From 13, car 8, Bond and Crosby. 14, car 3, Ashby and Reed. And in 15th position, car 20, Fitzgerald Holman, the B&H BMW.
Position 16 held by English and Scott. Good drive by them in the Sierra. Waldock and Peters next in the Playscape car, followed by Smith and Morgan, the Toyota Supra. Bolwell and Abrahams, car 43 in 19th spot. And Moore and Delcourt, car 22 in 20th position.
21st, Grant and Grant with their Nissan. 22nd, Brock and Medecky, and that car still with problems by the side of the road. 23rd, Jones and Imrie with their Commodore. Another Commodore, Finnegan and Leeds in 24th. And in 25th, Jansen and Gazzard.
From position 26, Scott and Taylor in the Shell Sierra. From 27, car 50, Sala and Lusty. 28, car 2, Price Walden having trouble with the second GTR. From 29, car 78, Full and Morris in the Speedtech Corolla. And position 30, car 24, the two Donahers in the Commodore.
Down to the bottom half of the field, car 31, Johnson and Johnson Commodore running in 31st position, followed by Hendrick and Lambden, also in a Commodore. The Gulson, father and son, car 34 is in 33rd position. Bates and Bates, the twin brothers Neil, in car 70 are running 34th, and Bob Holden and Renaud Altonen in 35th place.
Running in 36th, Forshaw and Vorst with their Corolla. 37th, Pearson and Stewart with the Commodore. 38th, Cotter and Dulman's BMW. 39th, Wright and Dunford with another Corolla. Yet another Corolla in 40th position.
Position 41, Barrow and McIntyre in the Sierra. 42, 74, Verheyen and Vernon in the little Corolla. 43, 54, Sharp and Saltberger in the Kiwi Motorsport car. From position 44, car 39, O'Brien and Callahan. And position 45, Sala and Stratton in another Corolla.
Caltex Racecourse says that in position 46, Wilmington and Awadullah. The leader is in the pits, car 1. 47th is Tyndall and Stewart. At least it didn't get very far, and nor did the car 76, the 48th starter in the race. 2.5 hours down, 4 hours to go in the 2Es 1000.
Mount Panorama at Bathurst. Problems for the Neil Crompton, Bradley Jones, number 7 Holden Racing Team Commodore. Crompton had taken the car up to 9th on the road. He's had a shunt somewhere around the circuit. They've hit it with the 100-mile-an-hour tape, the silver tape. They're trying to make sure that there's nothing damaged. Crompton decided to bring the car in just at the same time. That's our bumper cam sitting out the front, giving you the best view.
This is not the way it happens at your friendly panel beating shop. Peter McKay's on the spot.
Whoa! Check the brake fluid. Check the brake fluid.
Well, they're checking and trying to rebuild the car as quickly as they possibly can. And what would they do with that gaffer tape?
Yes, much in a race like this. The other good news is Andrew Madecki has passed the TAFE course and has the 05 car back and mobile, or limping anyway towards the pits. Nissan number 1 car, Jim Richards, pitted and rejoined the race, still in the lead, so they have not dropped the lead away. Plenty of work going on though in the car.
Yes, it was a long pit stop too, close to 2 minutes, and yet they're still running up front. Effort by the Nissan team. Neil Crompton sitting in the car anxiously waiting as they try to repair the damage. Crompton, what happened?
The old boy got sideways coming into the pit straight in a fairly big way. We were tangled up in a scrap with John Bow and Greg Hansford. Gricey had virtually a spin. I ducked to the inside to miss him, but gave him a Liberace.
Oh, well, it's done a fair amount of damage.
No kidding.
We're looking at our Prima Holidays replay here. This was what happened when the car first came into the pits. And any method, fair or foul, to get things back in place and get it back up and running again. It can't happen quickly enough for Neil Crompton.
Now, that is unfortunate. There's nothing he can do. He can just sit there and wait. He's very anxious to get going. They're taping up the front of the car.
We've got brake pressure.
3 minutes 11. I'm sorry, Neil, what'd you say?
I was talking to Wal, sorry, Mike,
Sorry,
I didn't mean to interrupt. Fun and games you have playing the motor racing game.
Yes, can happen. Does happen.
Here comes my boss, I'm in trouble now.
Just pretend you don't even know what he's talking about.
Can you just switch off while we'll have a chat, please?
Yeah, sure. We'll go away from Neil Crompton's race cam for a moment while they work on it. It's our stick cam, or our rod cam as we call it, where we can get in and under the car. Still working to try and get the aerodynamics right. At the moment, it has about the same aerodynamic lift as a brick wall.
Well, they've got to get it bent back into a reasonable enough shape to satisfy the stewards and not cop a black flag and have to keep coming back to the pit area. They've been in there for nearly 4 minutes. 05 limping back to the pits. Andrew Medicki's managed to get it up and running again, but they've lost all position in this lead car for the Mobil 1 team. 11 also, and crawling into the pits. Oh, this is bad news.
Well, that's Thomas Mazzera coming in to hand over to Larry Perkins. Cameron Williams is our man on the spot.
Yes, Mike. This is just a routine change, although it's a fairly full-on one. They're doing plugs, brakes, tyres, just about everything, even the driver, as you mentioned. the team's quite happy with the way things are proceeding, although there's a little bit of dispute here between the drivers.
I'll tell you what it is. It's Larry Perkins, who's an engineer. Tommy Mazera brought the car in very coolly, and Perkins wanted his attention, said, what's wrong? And he couldn't get the answer he wanted. And when you've got trouble, there's double trouble. The 05, that has stalled on the entrance to the pits.
Now, where does the outside assistance put him in terms of...
They've got to get him out of the way there.
Yeah, that's true.
11, the Perkins Mazera car was up to 5th. Well, I'll tell you what, if it... Poor old Andrew Madecki, if the thing only runs 100 metres at a time, he's going to need 5 guys to run with him for the rest of the race. And this, of course, presents the next problem with Larry Perkins, the Mazera car, number 11, and the 05 car tucked in behind it.
It's crowded in there. Stretched to the limit, the Mobil 1 pit crew at the present time. Neil Crompton, meantime, has rejoined the race in 18th place. They've effected some sort of repair to the 7 Holden team car. Car 11's been in the pits a minute and a half and still counting, and we understand that car 30, the Glen Seaton Sierra, with Greg Hansford at the wheel, is about to come to the pits as well.
A little earlier today, joining Sandy in the pit studio, Dr. John Hewson. I suggested to John, extended an invitation to come and join us for the race call. He walked in just as all of this started to happen. It's certainly been a wild 5 minutes here.
Yes, it has, Mike. People were complaining, of course, that there wasn't much action in the early part of the race. It's all happening right now.
It certainly is. The Nissan still continues to lead. Jim Richards, Mark Scaife. There's Andrew Madecki. In the meantime, the 1 car with Scaife at the wheel to the top of the mountain.
John Bow still in 2nd place in car 17. Greg Hansford, car 30, holding down 3rd, but we understand about the pit. We also understand Alan Grice in car 16 is on his way to the pits. He was in 4th, or is in 4th place at the moment. Well, Dr. Hewson, you're a car fan, but not quite this type of car, I suppose.
No, we haven't had a great opportunity to drive anything like this, but it's fantastic to be here. No, it'd be a lot of fun. I'd be useless at it, but it would be a lot of fun.
Well, we've had the teams with 3 teams so far with 2 cars in the pits at the same time. Let's go to John Brady.
Yes, thanks, Mike. We've got the car that Neil Crompton had the kiss with, and it's, of course, Alan Grice changing over for Win Percy. There's a bit of damage on the back left-hand side of the bumper. Thankfully, not enough to do a lot of damage there. So they're just going through a change now. They're going to do the brakes as they go through. But it's been a very bad day for Holden, or bad lap, that one for Holden, as you can imagine. One car running into the other. They've just cut the engine here, which could start to be a bit disconcerting. They were expecting to get through this a little quicker than they've done. They had reported no problems with the car, but things are just starting to slow here a fraction. Pads just in on the front wheels, about to go on. Now they're back in action and ready to go away. A little longer than they would have expected, and that little bit of damage at the back is going to probably annoy them for the day, but not cause too much trouble.
That's what you call quick servicing. Now, fortunately, we're able to ISO most of the incidents that happen around the circuit. Here's Neil Crompton, the 7 car. And that's what happened. As you can see, the Grice car was around sideways. He was able to try and pull out of harm's way, but managed to clip the tail of the car. Just thinking, John, you wouldn't want to be sitting there at the team debrief tonight. There'll be some solid chat.
It certainly would be. A lot of soul searching.
05 back on the road and running again. Meantime, while all that activity was going on, the 30 Seaton car came in, Hansford got out, Seaton got in, and they were on their way with a lightning stop, came in running in 3rd place, rejoined in 3rd spot, so they've lost nothing in that little stop.
There's Thomas Mazera that we saw climb out of the Perkins 11 car, and Larry catch his attention very quickly. He's probably just explaining that to Peter Brock.
That car has a broken valve spring, the 11 car.
Well, they have some problems. Here's Peter, I guess, had the backup right in 11, but that's going nowhere. The number 1 car, Mark Scaife, Jim Richards, continues to lead.
I neglected to mention Glen Seaton is back in the 30 car now. Cameron Williams is down in the pit lane with Peter Brock.
Peter Perfect, it seems like things have gone perfectly wrong just at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting day. The car started off beautifully, and Andrew's had an electronic gremlin in the car, and through persistence, he's actually got the thing going again, and arrived in here as Thomas was in to do a planned pit stop. And as he arrived, he said, "This, the engine's got a problem. It's got, I think they dropped the valve in it." And so we sent Andrew back out to soldier on. I guess this will be sort of pushed to one side. This was our big hope, of course. But and I'll hop back into 05 and see if I can finish somewhere respectable through the day. But gee, electronics, a bit of a strange one. Okay.
Certainly is. I'd like to know who's supplying the wheels and tyres for car 44, because I think at last count it's been through 3 of them.
That's right, and both team cars have lost a wheel. 05, by the way, Peter Brock's car is now in 33rd place with Andrew Miedeke at the wheel. Car 4, the GIO Nissan, currently running in 6th position, is due in 2 laps for fuel, tyres and a driver change.
Well, it's a fascinating race. Fortunes is Dave Barrow in the Sierra. They've really had some problems, but they're getting some exposure, Queensland Plastics. John, I think you'd agree, a much different race to those we see the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship, where you only have a 50-minute sprint event. It's something that takes 1,000 Ks in. You can think you've got it locked up, and it goes away from you. You've got to try and build again and be back there at 4:30.
Well, that's the great value of Bathurst, of course, that it's really is an endurance race, and it tests different skills in the teams and the drivers and the cars. And at this stage, of course, we've got a couple of the favourites still up in front, I think in the first 3 places. But the big question is, of course, if Jim Richards and Mark Scaife lose it, it's anybody's race.
It's a bit like politics, isn't it? You've got to be in for the long haul.
In for the long haul. It's not bad to be in front, but you want to be in for the long haul.
So here is the race leader, hard on the heels of the Synovus Moffat entry, car 10. Gianfranco Brancatelli at the wheel of the leader of those 2 cars. The race leader, of course, is the car behind. And Mark Scaife, the man who picked up $15,000 for winning pole position here for this race. Car 10, by the way, is in 9th place and about to be lapped by Scaife.
They're an awesome machine, John, the GTR.
They are. They're awesome. It's just to see whether they've got the endurance to last the distance here. Unbeatable over the shorter Australian touring car races.
Well, the 11 car is going behind the pit wall. Larry Perkins, Thomas Mazera. That challenge is over. Oh, now we have the Mark Gibbs, Rowan Onslow, GIO Nissan.
Scheduled stop.
Yep, was running in the top 6.
Clock's running on this one. Fuel, tyres and driver change. Mark Gibbs coming out of the car. And Rowan Onslow going in. He's had a long stint in that car, Mark Gibbs.
Onslow, who's been probably better known for his open wheeler exploits in recent years. But there you have it with Rowan in there. Some teams, as we take the Caltex race score, no doubt about the guy leading the race. It's the Mark Scaife, Jim Richards car. Still comfortably clear of Dick Johnson and John Bow in the number 17 Shell Sierra. 3rd place is, of course, Glenn Seaton, Greg Hansford in the Peter Jackson Sierra. 4th is car 4, just gone into the pits now, so it'll drop down a spot. Gibbs and Onslow in the GIO Nissan GTR. 5th, car number 16, Percy and Grice in the Holden Racing Team Commodore. 6th, 18, Paul Radisich, Terry Shield, the Shell Sierra from position 7. 25, Longhurst Jones, clawing their way back up through the field. 8th, car number 9, Steve Millen, and of course Gary Brabham in the Synovus Sierra. Running 9th, car 8, Colin Bond, Graham Crosby, the Kiwi, and the Caltex CXT Sierra. Rounding out the 10, car number 20, Peter Fitzgerald and Denny Holm. Back at Bathurst in a moment. Bathurst, lap 72 of 161. The Tui's 1000, Australia's great race. Following at the moment, Kevin Waldock in the Sierra. comes through. Queensland Sunshine Holidays, Playscape racing car. This guy could be one of the sleepers, running 15th on the road at the moment, coming past the 2WS sweeper down into the dipper. Ran third at Sandown in the 500 last year, third again this year, and they have the car in endurance trim, and that means a lot. And young Brett Peters, Formula 4 driver, one to watch coming up through the field.
Yes, well, Kevin, I've been out with Kevin actually. He's a very good driver, so they're a good team. Kevin suffers from a lack of experience, I think, compared to the others, but he's a first-class driver. I'd like to see them do well.
He's quite unusual because he sponsored a car. He sponsored Andrew Madecki, Blast Dynamics car, and then decided he'd like to go racing himself.
That's right.
And I think he's done a marvellous job the last couple of years.
He's only been driving 2 or 3 years, and he puts it down to a lack of experience. He thinks he can be as quick as anyone on the track on the day, but he doesn't quite have the experience of the Brocks and the Johnsons and so on. But as a team with Peters, I think they're a very good team, and I'd like to see them finish in the top few.
Well, they were out to about 22nd, 23rd, 45 minutes ago. They're up to 15th now.
Yes, good, solid performance. I think they'll be there at the finish. It'll depend a lot on what the top cars do, I guess, as was always the case.
Here we take the Graham Crosby Caltex Sierra, shortening up the approach run to the pits, carrying one of our 7 race cams on the roof of the car, and one out the side of the door. This will give you a bird's eye view now of the pit stop.
Scheduled pit stop. They're in 11th place, where they were coming in for the stop. Well, it was a scheduled pit stop, but apparently he's got a misfire in the engine as well. Whether or not they're going to bother with that problem at the moment. Colin's having a little momentary problem there, getting himself into the car. Graham Crosby out. Peter McKay on the spot for our Prima Holidays pit report.
And this one's an extended stop because of the need to change brake pads, but it's all going rather routinely. They haven't lifted the bonnet. Colin's belted up, ready to go. Just a bit of windscreen work, and as usual, the fuel takes the longest in any pit stop.
Well, he's gone a lot.
The fuel's in, and all we're waiting for now are the front pads. And there is an extra mechanic under the front doing a bit of repair work, looks like on an oil cooler or something.
There's some great shots in the pits today. Been in and under the cars, watching the guys work. Ron says, come on, shut the door. They're saying, no, don't go just yet. They had him all hooked up there. Now, there was a touch of panic in the closing seconds of that pit stop, but Bond's underway. A guy with a ton of experience here at Mount Panorama.
Minute 36 for the stop, Michael.
Crosby was 9th, and despite a few problems there, Colin has rejoined without dropping a spot, so they're still 9th in the race. Fascinating view. Car number 78, Jeffrey Full in the Toyota, but we have one of the Johnson cars coming up towards the top of the mountain here.
Yeah, it's the New Zealand combination.
Yep, they've just been in and out of the pits. The exit from the cutting and the head up to Tui's turn. They've been limping around for quite a spell now, Gary.
Yeah, well, they've had 4 or 5 pit stops at least. Their races run, and they're going to be limping for a long time, I think. Car 9, the Synovus Moffat car. Gary Brabham, he's now back at the wheel of that car. They had a full stop, changed brake pads. It was a lengthy stop. Car 78 now on screen in the 1600cc category.
Jeffrey Full, and you can see the speed difference there between the outright cars. sometimes it's a fairly thankless task for the guys who steer the smaller cars around. They're blamed for being in everyone else's row, but they're trying to race each other in their own class, a race within a race. And they spend half the time looking forward and half the time in the mirrors.
Yes, ducking from what's coming from behind. There's probably some very good racing back there, though.
It is very competitive.
Yeah.
They've been running at 10 tenths all day, 78.
Yes, we talked about being in for the long haul and back in this category. Of course, we've got Bob Holden and Renaud Altonen, who won the race here 25 years ago in a Mini, still campaigning, this time in a Corolla. They're in 24th place.
It's good to see.
Have a look at the top three coming up in each of the three classes. The outright, Jimmy Richards, Mark Scaife leading the Nissan GTR from Johnson and Bauer in the Shell Sierra, and then of course Seaton and Hansford in the Peter Jackson Sierra. Next class down, Tony Longhurst and Alan Jones in the M3, clear of Fitzgerald and Holm in their sister car, and Cotter and Dillman doing a good job in the M3 Motorsport BMW, and of course in the baby class. Full and Morris that we've been following in the Speedtech Corolla. The twins, the Bates boys, Mercantile Mutual Corolla runs in second, Forshaw and Vorst, and the Bob Holden Motors Corolla runs back in third.
Well, we're approaching the halfway mark of the 2E's 1000, and in the third hour, things are really starting to warm up. Still, however, Mark Scaife says, come on, boys, catch me if you can, and he's cruising away at the moment, but there's certainly plenty happening around him. This segment could be called a segment on wheels because the Sierra of McIntyre and Barrow lost one. 3 wheels into the pits. There were wheels everywhere. Now, just who did that belong to? Was that theirs? Or could it have been Brian Salas, the youngster, getting a real initiation at the mountain at his first attempt? And one of the Bingles of the hour, the 33 Product Commodore, Bob Pearson and Bruce Stewart. Andrew Madecki, well, he had problems on the mountain. He fiddled away and tinkered away himself and got the car going, but it hasn't been easy. Drew Price into the pits, plenty of activity there. He did have problems with tyre vibration and they're still working away. Neil Crompton, as we saw, also had his problems. And this is not the way to put your bonnet down after going to your local garage. And what caused it? Well, we'll have a look at that at the moment because they may be teammates, but I'm quite sure they're not as close as this. And finally, does Thomas Mazzera and Larry Perkins have a hearing problem? Only they will know.
Thank you, Sandy Roberts, updating the last hour of the 2E's 1000. Fascinating stuff, that, between Thomas Mazzera and Larry Perkins.
Well, we picked it when Mazzera was coming in that it wasn't a routine stop, but they crawled in. There was obviously something wrong with the car, but I don't think he'd communicate. Well, they had no radio communication.
And I think Thomas was ready to call it quits, and Larry was embarrassed probably by attempting to climb into the car only to find out that they dropped a valve or whatever happened. 17 car we'll be keeping an eye on.
John Bauer in control and in second place. Race leader, of course, continues to be the number one.
And the pit stop is evident. You see John Bauer getting ready. And watch this, he'll come down pit road and you'll see him release the belts. He come through Caltech's chase. Now he'll make his way off to the pits. Now watch the activity in the car. The whole idea is to come in smoothly. Here comes Bauer, belts undone. John Brady is our man on the spot.
Yes, thanks, Mike. They're going to do a full change with pads and everything this time round, but the interesting thing about this is the way they're juggling the petrol. In the back of that car now is less than 2 litres of fuel. They are stretching their pit stops right out, the Johnson team. They're hoping to get by with 3. Now, they haven't done that in their time at Bathurst in Ford Sierras. They can't remember a quick car getting away with 3 stops at Bathurst. The BMWs will this year, but not one of these ones. Now, Neil Lowe was hoping to keep the car out for one more lap, but it just got too dodgy. There was less than 2 litres left in the tank, and they figured this was not going to be worth the risk. Now, if all goes according to their calculations, going over the finish line, they are going to have literally a couple of drops left in the tank. They are going to have next to nothing. And Neil Lowe just says, my heart is going to be in my mouth, hoping the figures have all worked out. Just a little bit of time getting these wheels on. It's not a bad stop, though. It's around, just around a minute mark, bit under. Now 48's as quick as you'll ever do this. If you can get out in about a minute 55 to a minute, it's not going to be too bad. So Johnson back on track in quite a way.
It was quite a stop. Had changed everything.
Just under 55 seconds.
Bow, of course, handed the car over to Dick Johnson, the 17 car running in second. And after that lightning stop, they've only dropped one spot on the road, one only.
I had a long chat with Johnny Bow about this tactic, and he said what they try and do is they leave the car in 5th gear over the top of the mountain and try and keep the revs down as low as possible, try and keep the consumption to a minimum.
Dick Johnson heading up the mountain now towards BP Cutting. Take him a lap or so to settle into the rhythm as he swings through here. Try to get the best of him, of course. The Nissan GTR. Dick doesn't want to surrender at this stage. As you can see, Dick's on fresh rubber. An unusual sight. I remember some years ago with Doug Chivers having to push his car into the pits, and at that stage it was all uphill. There's race cam. With the Nissan boys waving goodbye to Dick. Whether or not he'll drop in behind. Still trying to reach the pits.
The Peter Verheyen, John Vernon Corolla there.
Number 1 Nissan on the exit to Mazda corner, and there's Dick Johnson in car number 17. Johnson's delivered here at Bathurst on 2 occasions, and he is the subject of this afternoon's first Mountain Memory. (1980). Australia was both horrified and fascinated by the mysterious disappearance of baby Azaria Chamberlain from a tent near Ayers Rock. And the world's biggest democracy installed as its president a former Hollywood movie actor with a predilection for Grecian 2000. At Bathurst, a wayward rock entered the gallant bid by true blue privateer Dick Johnson to win the great race. A tearful Johnson told Seven's huge audience he wouldn't be returning to Heartbreak Hill, but changed his mind when sympathetic supporters committed a total of $72,000 to the Queenslander for a new car. While rock star Johnson certainly stole the limelight, the race fell to Peter Brock and Jim Richards, doing it nicely for Holden. Yes, one of the memories of Mount Panorama Bathurst, and problems here by the look of it for John Smith and Morgan with the Mercantile Mutual Supra that has got off by the look of it at Murray's Corner and has the front of it sticking in the wall down there. Whether he's been able to pull it up before hitting the wall or whether she has been shortened up, we might get from another view.
Doesn't look so super anymore, does it?
No. Tried to pull it out. This is what happened. Straight off, he's pulled the front of it around. No, and was able to stop it. Good driving. Good to see Johnny Smith back here at Bathurst with the Supra attempt. He's put a lot of money, a lot of effort into it, and so too Mercantile Mutual. The Supra was running 17. Now that is a good result at this time of the day.
Yeah, big effort to take over basically what was the Toyota team of previous years and put the money up to run it himself. Let's hope that he recovers from that. Jeff Morgan was behind the wheel in that incident.
Oh, the car continues, and so too Dick Johnson, car number 17.
Second place behind Jim Richards. A lap down at this stage.
Get a chance a little later on after Dick has settled in for a chat and see how the car feels. certainly been very, very competitive here at Mount Panorama this weekend.
Car number 9, Sanova's entry for Alan Moffat.
It's the Gary Brabham, Steve Millen car.
Gary Brabham at the wheel at the moment. Running well, running strongly, in 9th position, in fact.
Yeah, quite an interesting driver combination, this. Steve Millen, brother of Rod Millen, one of the United States' most successful rally drivers, but they're both New Zealand-born guys. Steve Millen went over to do some stadium racing in the States and currently runs in IMSA.
Caltech's race score will show him in 9th position, but let's check the top 10 at this stage of the race. Richard Scaife continued to lead after 79 laps. Seaton Hansford 2nd, Johnson Bow 3rd, Percy Grice Commodore in 4th place, Radicic and Shield in 5th position. 6th on the road at the moment, and the 3-litre category leader, Longhurst and Jones, the BMW. Gibbs and Onslow, the GIO car, running 7th. Brancatelli O'Brien, the first of the Moffat cars, running in 10th place. Then Millen and Brabham, the car that we're seeing at the moment, in 9th. And rounding out the top 10, Fitzgerald and Holm in the 2nd of the B&H BMWs. Mount Panorama, Bathurst, and trouble for Steve Reed and Trevor Ashby in the Lansdale Smash Repairs Commodore. 81 laps of 161. And I'm afraid they're going to be sitting out a few laps. Left rear somewhere. Oh, car 12 also in big trouble down towards the bottom of Conrod Straight.
That's the Ray Lintott Sierra, prepared by Dick Johnson Racing last year, joined by Gary Scott, the touring car race this year.
Tony Scott.
Sorry, Tony Scott, his brother, yep.
And John English, yeah.
And they're stuck in the sand.
Yeah, no four-wheel drive on Sierra, so I don't think that's going to move very far.
Would be handy. The Richards, Nissan and Seaton Sierra are the only cars on the lead lap at this stage, and that's lap 81, which is halfway through the great race.
Rimmer Holidays replay. Let's find out what happened here. Coming into the pit lane.
Deary me.
Just a little anxious to get there in a hurry. And he's landed himself in the sand pit. Unable to get out. Right, they'll have some work to do. Car 12 was in position 12, so they've been having a really strong run.
Meanwhile, car 19, the third of the Shell Sierras, has been pushed right into the garage this time. There's some serious work going on there. The engines, electronics have been bugging them all at the race. So now they've decided to put it up on jacks and have a really good look at it. Meanwhile, the other two Shell cars, 17 and 18, running like clockwork, apparently. So the boys are busy there.
Back on track. Coming down Caltech's chase. A little yellow BMW is car 20. The second of the B&H cars. Peter Fitzgerald at the wheel of that one. Everlast Commodore going through there too. And there's car number 9. Gary Brabham, Moffat Sanova's entry. In 9th position, but being rapidly hauled in by Peter Fitzgerald in the BMW.
Meanwhile, the Scott Lintott Sierra still in the pits after that run into the sand.
Looks to be bleeding a little fluid under the front too.
Yeah, the driver's getting out, the bonnet's up, so the traditional Bathurst high attrition rate continues. As car 9, second Moffat Sierra swings up the hill.
Just giving Gary Wilmington the go-by in 41 Toyota Supra, and just behind him comes Peter Fitzgerald. Car 9, as I said, in 9th position.
So that's the two Moffat Sierras in the top 10.
Yeah.
I don't think Alan will be too upset by that at that stage, gauging by the conservative race setup they've had all week up here. Gary Brabham being drafted into the 9 car. It was originally supposed to be the two Brabham boys, Gary and his brother Jeff. But Jeff had an unfortunate accident testing his Nissan car in the States. Had to withdraw only a few weeks from the event, and they drafted in Steve Millen. Gary Brabham has risen to the highest levels in motorsport at one stage, had a Formula One drive with the Life racing team.
There wasn't much life in the Life racing team, was there?
It wasn't really a Formula One team. They had enough trouble just getting the car to the circuit, let alone getting it to qualify.
So it was the highest level of motorsport, but it was about the lowest level of Grand Prix racing.
Yeah, it's a great disappointment for Gary, and that was about his only experience in Formula One up to this stage. But
there is a crowd there of cars as we check the Altrex radar readout on Conrod Straight, and Jim Richards has the honours at 287 kilometres per hour, Glenn Seaton 286, and John Barr 283. The fastest times clocked down Conrod Straight thus far. Back with the Moffat car, both the Moffat cars in the tyre war that attends this race, running on Dunlops, as are most of the competitors. The Nissans and the BMWs both running on, the BMWs, the Longhurst BMWs, running on Yokohamas. The GIO Nissan is, like the rest, running on Dunlops, and of course the Brock Mobile team, when it was running, and the Seaton team running on Bridgestones. So as this car circulates in 9th spot and doing it well at the moment, I see the Toyota Supra back up and running. Pleased to see that. Let's take a report from the top of the mountain with Morris Parker.
Thanks very much, Gary. It's amazing up here. It's a totally different world to down there. Everybody's up here having a great time. There's guys on trucks. They're set up here all day. Look at them. And they're all Brocky fans. It's their home away from home for the long weekend. They love being on TV too, as you can see, Gary.
Yeah, although, tell you what, they haven't got much to cheer about with the Brock situation at the moment.
I don't think they seem to care. When they do see a Nissan come past, you should hear them boo.
I think they've been anaesthetised against the pain.
They may have, yes.
Morris Parker up where it gets really wild on the top of Mount Panorama. They take everything seriously out there, not just the car racing.
yeah, it really is an amazing place. And you've got to camp up there and spend a few days there to really understand what it's all about.
No, thank you.
Particularly the last 10 or 20 laps of the race, the atmosphere up there is always electric.
Gary Brabham still going around, and younger brother David, perhaps the most successful of the three brothers. David currently driving in the World Sports Car Championship for Jaguar in Tom Walkinshaw's team.
He's having a little more fortune in his run today than his dad had at his last appearance at Mount Panorama.
It's gone a little further.
Good to see, and it's good to see him having some success. As you said, he's been in a position in world motorsport the last couple of seasons to make great strides, but things just haven't quite worked the way they ought to have for him.
He had a great season in the British Formula 3000 series. But apart from that, things really don't seem to have worked out that well for him.
Meanwhile, while we're looking at the Moffat cars, here's the other one, car 10, the Charlie O'Brien, Gianfranco Brancatelli car. Doing very well, as you said, running in the top 10.
Charlie O'Brien at the wheel.
8th place at the moment.
Nissan team preparing for a stop, but they've declined to let us know which of the cars is coming in. Oh, all right. Well, we'll soon find out, I guess.
Well, but I saw the team personnel standing ready and waiting. Charlie O'Brien at the wheel. Then of car number 10 as it comes into Caltex chase.
So the two Moffat cars running like clockwork. Charlie O'Brien heading down towards the bottom of the mountain. And you think there's big crowds on the top of the mountain? Well, look at this. Down the bottom, they're just as big and just as enthusiastic. An enormous crowd here today for the running of the Tooheys 1000. Yes, the two Moffat cars haven't been seen since Bathurst last year. For 12 months they've been in a garage being completely reworked. They are originally Rudy Eggenberger cars running Eggenberger engines. And Moffat always turns out a couple of immaculate white Sierras at Bathurst every year.
Started from pole position last year, thanks to
Car
Nice
18's
leads, Vince.
coming into the pits in 5th place at this moment. Terry Shield at the wheel. There is going to be a driver change.
Paul Radicic, the man getting in there behind the wheel.
And Dick Johnson must be really pleased with the way the Shell cars are running this weekend. There's 05 back into the pits. Medecky gets out. Brock gets in. When the car rejoined the race, after all those problems they had with the fuel pump, he was in 33rd position. John Harvey's down there, John.
No, not there. All right, let's follow it ourselves here. Brock getting buckled up. You've got a lot of hard work to do because with all of the problems that they had earlier, they slipped to 31st position, and a lot, an almost impossible, one would say, amount of ground to make up.
44-second stop for the Shell 18 car.
Paul Radicic from New Zealand now back at the wheel of that car. Pitted in 5th position, rejoins the race in 7th spot. Haven't lost much ground. A buckled familiar front of Neil Crompton's number 7 Holden team car.
It's an impressive time as well, 44 seconds for the 18 car.
So as Neil Crompton soldiers on with the damaged Holden, let's have a look at the race. First at Richard Scaife, of course. Second, car 30, Seaton and Hansford soldiering on. In third, car 17, Johnson and Bow in the Shell Sierra. In fourth, hanging in there, Percy and Grice in the Holden Racing 10 Commodore. From fifth, Paul Radicic and Terry Shield in car 18.
I'll give you a full readout here. 6th position and class leaders in the 3-litre category. Longhurst Jones, the BMW. Gibbs Onslow in the GIO Nissan entry in 7th spot. Position 8, Brancatelli O'Brien, the Synovus Sierra. Position 9, number 9, Synovus entry, Millen and Brabham. And position 10, the second of the BMW cars, Fitzgerald and Hull.
Just outside of the top 10, Bond and Crosby with their Sierra. Then the Waldock Peters example. Jones and Aaron Neil Crompton there in 13th after their problems. 14th, English and Scott. And 15th, Ashby and Reed with the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore.
Position 16, Moore and Delcourt in the Strathfield car. 17, car 6, Grant and Grant in the Skyline. From 18, car 15, Smith and Morgan in the Supra. In position 19, car 2, Price and Walden in the GTR. And position 20, Jones and Emery in the Commodore.
We've been running 3.5 hours in the Tooheys 1000 at this stage, and in 21st position, car 14, Johnson Commodore. Finnegan leads in 22nd position, and the first of the 1600cc cars in 23rd place, Full and Morris in the Corolla, followed by Bates and Bates the Corolla, then Hendrick and Landon 25th spot in the Commodore.
26th, car 24, Donaher and Donaher with the Commodore. 27th, the Golsons with their BMW. 28th, Sana and Lusty with the Sierra. 29th, Brock and Medecky moving slowly back up through the field. And 30th, Scott and Taylor with the third of the Shell Racing cars.
Position 31, the little BMW of Cotter and Dorman. 32, car 77, Forshaw and Vorst. In position 33, 71, Searle and Griffiths in the TTO Corolla. 34, car 11, Perkins and Mazira. 35, car 43, Brian Bolwell.
And getting down to the bottom of the list, you'll find Holden and Alton in car 73, holding 36th spot, followed by Wright and Dunford, another Corolla in 37th, then Parsons and Park, only 60 laps covered for them in the Peter Jackson Sierra. Verheyen and Vernon in 39th position in the Corolla, and the captain, Peter Jansen, and Gazard in the Commodore in 40th place.
Positions 41 through to 45, Barrow and McIntyre with their Sierra. Pearson and Stewart with a Commodore. O'Brien and Callahan with another Commodore. Wilmington's Supra there with Awadala, and Sharp and Salvecta in 45th.
46th, didn't go far, just 28 laps for car 72, and Tyndall, Stewart and Conway Gardner went nowhere to round out the race field in the Tooheys 1000.
Back at Mount Panorama at Bathurst, the Tooheys 1000 continues. We're on lap 88 of 161, following the car running 14th on the road at the moment. That's the Strathfield car Radio Commodore, the car shared by Graham Moore and the lovable Belgian Michel Delcourt. And he's a very big broth of a lad, let me tell you. And he's coming into the pits now.
No mean driver either, former Belgian touring car champion. And he won the inaugural Wellington 500 street race.
That's correct. Here he comes. I remember watching Michelle in action in the Spa 24-hour race. And the only thing they broke on the car were the seats.
That's right.
Michelle could run this for 24 hours. Wouldn't worry him in the least. Delightful gentleman.
Blew the race engine for this car in the final discretionary practice yesterday afternoon, and had to work long hours through the night to put the last of their well-worn practice engines in the car. So they're doing a pretty good job under the circumstances.
Yes, it's a Larry Perkins engineered car and leased to Graham Moore for the Tui's 1000. Here's another of the battlers, the privateers, Jeff Leeds and Terry Finnegan in the Foodtown Commodore. Always regulars in the Amscar Touring Car Series and Australian Touring Car Championship races on the east coast of Australia. And a genuine nice guy is Terry Finnegan and also Jeff Leeds. They always come up as a strong combo for a top 10 finish at Mount Panorama.
Had no problems through the week either in practice or qualifying. All went according to plan. They were quite happy to qualify where they did. Back on the grid, they aim to run all day.
21st position on the racetrack, the Foodtown Commodore of Jeff Leeds and Terry Finnegan.
Just as an aside too, the wind has picked up here. It's swung around a bit. It's getting decidedly cooler, having been in the mid-20s all day here at Bathurst, and a lot of cloud building up over the back of the mountain. Not threatening at this stage, but at Bathurst you never know.
The Foodtown Commodore, Jeff Leeds, Terry Finnegan through Tui's turn, working the top part of the mountain now. Running down towards Skyline. They prepare a very, very good car, very consistent car. But they're out of the big bucks league. Terry would probably love to do a bit more racing, but small budgets don't allow for touring all over Australia.
Commodore car that this circuit was built for, and V8 of course, 5 or 6 speed box, big tyres and a ton of brakes. We need them with all of that power, 550 brake horsepower, and a pretty good power to weight ratio as well. A very important factor when you're climbing up Mount Panorama.
Look at this for a challenge.
Just giving the Gary Wilmington Toyota Supra the go-by there as well. Jeff
leaves the door open there for the number 10 car, Charlie O'Brien, back at the wheel of the Synovus Vitamins Sierra. And the two Moffat cars continue trouble-free in this race. We've drawn attention to that in the last hour or so. And sometimes I guess where Moffat has commanded such a high profile here, came this year and wanted to step back out of the spotlight and have the cars run from Wednesday through until Sunday in race trim.
Terry Finnegan up the mountain, leaving astern now the Wilmington Supra. Another good Aussie battler here at Mount Panorama, Gary Wilmington, driving this year with Rita Awadallah, and his campaigned all sorts. He had a Jag at one time that he was campaigning. He ran smaller cars here. I think he drove for Bob Holden a couple of years in 1600cc category.
Meanwhile, Foodtown Commodore sounding very sweet. Terry Finnegan won the Best Presented Car Award in 1988 for this race. And I can tell you, looking at this thing close in the pits, it is immaculate.
drivers too. I just mentioned the weather change report. A very, very fierce crosswind now coming down Conrod Straight. Here comes the number 2 Nissan. Into the pit. There'll be a substantial change here, probably pads, driver, etc. Let's go to John Harvey and find out.
I think with the ruckus down there, John probably didn't hear us.
Yes, Mike, I've got the middle of the pit stop now. This is a major stop for this car. They're changing both front and rear pads, but they're a well-disciplined crew, and it seems to be going pretty well at the moment. Back, wheels are complete. The new pads are just going in, as you can probably see. Wheels on. The guys reckon they do this in about a minute, and I think they're not far off it. Yeah, Fred's giving them the wind-up now. They're away. That was a pretty good stop, Mike.
I thought it was an excellent stop.
It was an excellent stop. 48 seconds ahead on my stopwatch when he came into the pits in 16th place. 7 laps down, so slowly clawing way back to the field after those earlier mishaps.
And just as a matter of interest, his teammate, the number 1 Nissan car, with Mark Scaife at the wheel, last lap was clocked in at 2 minutes 17.28, so the pace is not slackening up front.
Drew Price in the car now, the number 2 Nissan.
Yeah, that's interesting, the pace of the number 1 car. That's been Nissan's plan all along. They wanted to get up here and control the pace of the race from the front. They know they can run high 216s, low 17s, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Mark Scaife hits to take back over from Jimmy Richards.
I think I just credited Mark with that 2:17 plus. It was Jim Richards in the car. Not Jim's fastest lap today either, by the way. He's done some 2:16s. But Mark is certainly capable of running just as fast, if not faster, as proved in the Tui's top 10 qualifying from our 7 chopper across the top of the mountain. Great shot this is, and look at the crowd. They are glued. They're not going away. There's a lot of drama to unfold yet as this race, well, it's not winding down, not for a few hours yet.
No, got a long way to go. Look at the way it just skips out of the turns. The Moffat Sierra in pursuit. The exit from Mazda corner.
Once they straighten up and the power goes down, the gap immediately begins to open up.
That's the 2 car as we now pick up on the 18 car coming in.
Paul Radicic at the wheel.
Not that long since they had a stop.
And there doesn't seem a lot of pit activity around there. Paul talking to team manager Neil Lowe. No tyre changes going on. And the bonnet's up.
Something amiss underneath.
Okay. In traditional Bathurst form, we're getting to that funny time of the day. 20 minutes to 2. It's usually in the next hour and a half, 2 hours, that all sorts of nasty things start happening to these cars. And this may be an indication of things to come. The car running like clockwork up until now.
Spoke about Gary Wilmington a moment ago. He's been black flagged in the Wilmington Supra. Exhaust has come adrift, apparently. So he'll have to come in next lap and get it fixed.
Oh, the look of that spanner work there. That's the oil feed line to the turbocharger.
Well, somebody'd like to throw a spanner in the works for Jim Richards at the moment, but it doesn't seem to be happening. Super smooth. Car 18, by the way, pitted in 7th place. Will drop down a few, I'd say.
It's still in there.
Jim Richards, Australian Touring Car Championship champion for the 2nd time this year, 2 years in a row, aboard the awesome 4-wheel drive Nissan GTR. This is the ultimate Group A touring cars. You've all heard it said before, but it's worth saying this is the fastest and most technically advanced car you will find in Group A touring car racing anywhere in the world. An enormous investment on behalf of the Nissan Motor Company. And gee, the car's been successful this year. 7 wins between Jim Richards and Mark Scaife to obliterate the opposition in this year's Touring Car Championship. The car, not this car, but a similar model, won the Spa 24-hour race by 21 laps. Mark Gibbs and Rowan Onslow scored a first place at the Sandown 500 a few weeks ago. And here they are in first place in the great race. Things are going well for Nissan in 91.
Still to be determined what the penalty will be to Nissan under the specifications for next year's touring cars.
Hello.
Problems for Longhurst Alan Jones, the BMW number 25 car.
Now this is very surprising. The bulletproof BMWs. Now, he managed to hold it all together. Well, Larry Perkins at the wheel at the time, and bring it down the mountain safely. But there's no guarantees here. That tyre is going to get shredded very badly by the time he's down toward the pits.
Oh. Car 20 has left the pits with Denny Holm at the wheel.
That is a rotten piece of luck for BMW, running so strongly at third position at one stage.
Of course, Frank Gardner was watching the monitor. If he could just get it through here and just guide it down gently, Conrod straight, he'll hang across here to the inside.
Well, it doesn't matter how well you build them. You can build them like tanks, but punctures, that's something you can't control.
Cameron Williams is with Frank and anxious Frank Gardner.
Yes, a very frank and anxious Frank Gardner with me. Frank, you were going so smoothly, this puncture's really put a spanner in the works.
Well, we're losing some time now, but I don't know whether it's put a spanner in the works. We were going to have to inherit some places anyway. It's just unfortunate, just it was all going too smooth to be realistic, I suppose.
Well, at this stage of the race, how do you assess the rest of the race happening, Frank?
Well, the race has still got a good third to run. There's an awful lot of problems yet to be encountered by other competitors, so we really don't know. You know, I wouldn't like to be Nostradamus at this stage.
Yes, but you obviously still give yourself a very strong chance.
Very hard to say. I'll be more relieved when it comes in and I can do something about it.
Thanks for your time, Frank.
Well, will he get in, Mark?
I think he'll make it now. I tell you, there's not much left of the case.
There's a real danger here, though, when you've got a tyre flapping around like that. It's damaging the bodywork, and the possibility is damaging things like brake lines and air scoops for the brakes. There could be some nasty damage under that mudguard when they get the wheel off.
18 car that we mentioned before is rejoined in 12th place.
Had a broken turbo actuator. It's been fixed.
4.5 minutes he lost. The only good news, if there can be such a thing for Tony Longhurst and Alan Jones, is that this car was actually due to make a stop at around this time. So when they take the fuel on board and so on, they'll take on a full load and they won't actually have lost any time. They won't have to make another pit stop shortly.
Well,
just made it. Just.
And this is the critical thing for the BMW teams. If this tyre's done any damage under there, they'll drop a heap of time.
Dropped a couple of places crawling to the pits from 5th down to 7th when he came in.
That's time they can't afford to lose. The race strategy for this car was to go absolutely flat chat with one hiccup.
Okay, fresh rubber on.
Doesn't look like there's too much damage under the car. The wheel going straight on. A bit of panel beating to get that guard out of the way. Meanwhile, Tony Longhurst has stepped in to replace Alan Jones. The car's been in the pits for 40 seconds and out in 44. So
That's pretty flash, isn't it?
that's very good because they haven't dropped a lot of time. I think their first stop was around the 40-second mark too.
And has rejoined in 7th place.
So they remain in the top 10, and that's quite an effort.
The only problem is that they've lost that gap.
Yeah.
That they were moving up on 6th. In the meantime, the number 1 Nissan heading into the pits. Looks like Peter Perfect zips by on the outside. So Johnny Harvey, take it away.
I don't think John...
Brakes, front and rear. There's a little difficulty getting the right front off, but that's underway now. They're a well-drilled crew, as I said before, but it only takes one little mistake here to make this a major disaster for them, but they're looking pretty good. Front ones are looking good. Old pad's out, new one's in. Mark Skate's already in the car and buckled up, ready to go. Fred Gibson looks pretty relaxed at this stage. Front wheels going on. This is going to be a pretty good stop for them, I'd say.
Yes, they can really afford to take their time to this one, can't they, John?
Yes, they can, Mike, and I think that's what they've done. pretty relaxed. That was a really good stop. Although, what have we got? Oh no, they're away. They're away. That was a pretty good stop, Mike.
It certainly was.
55 seconds. A very slick stop. Driver change and pad change. And number 1 gets back onto the circuit.
And car 30, we understand, is about to come to the pits, Hansford, to get back in the car, plus fuel and tyres.
So the Nissan climbs back onto Mountain Straight and maintains first position. So the dominance of the number 1 car continues.
Well, he heads up now towards Mountain Straight. The Caltex race course shows us Richard Scaife leading. Just at the point of coming across the start-finishing line, I still believe Seaton Hansford are on the same lap. Johnson Bauer run in 3rd place. Percy and Grice are in 4th. Gibbs and Onslow in 5th place. 6 is Brancatelli and O'Brien, followed by Longhurst and Jones. Millen and Brabham in the 2nd of the Sonova Sierras. Bond and Crosby run in 9th in the Caltex Sierra. And 10th is car number 18. That's Paul Radicic and Terry Shield. The Tui's 1000 continues. We're on lap 97 of 161. And of course, Mark Scaife in the Nissan GTR, the rocket ship, twin turbo, 4-wheel drive, still parades away from the field. But there's a lot of racing still to go here at Bathurst. One guy who I won't say is probably confident, because he doesn't like to show too much until the checkered flag comes down, and that's Alan Moffat. And Alan now joins us. Good afternoon, Alan.
And to you, Mike, and everyone listening on Channel 7 today around Australia, we know.
10th, car number 10, O'Brien and Branca running 6th, and the Brabham Millen car 8th. I won't overplay the thing, but that must make you feel fairly comfortable, because you came here with a race setup, not a qualifying setup.
Yes, we were, mate. We didn't want to get into that qualifying derby, and it's paying off dividends now. I would like to see our cars up a little higher on the leaderboard, but we've still got better part of 3 hours to worry about, and the brakes got us short last year. We don't want to see that happen again.
Well, just at the moment, I'll come back to you in 1 sec, Alan. We've got the Glenn Seaton car, the Peter Jackson car, coming into the pits. If you can stand by for 1 sec, we'll just call this pit stop and I'll be straight back to you.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy. An important stop, still on the same lap as the Nissan GTR, car number 1. John Harvey is our man on the spot.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, Glenn getting out, former motorcycle ace Greg Hansford getting in. They're changing pads on the front. They've checked the rears, had a quick look, they're okay. Now once again, here we go. Changing these pads can be... No, they're looking good. This is going to be a very, very good stop. Greg Hansford looks like he's pretty well buckled in, just finally putting the lap strap on. Yep, he's okay. Seat going forward. Some oil going into the engine. Yeah, clean the windscreen. Greg's cleaning for a clean screen. It may not get done. Pretty important to a driver, particularly in the late afternoon. You get the sun in your eyes going up the hill. The last thing you need is a dirty screen. Okay, they've got it done now. It's a pretty good stop. Could have been a little bit quicker. All right, Glenn's screaming, let it go.
A very quick stop.
Too bad, Mike.
That's pretty quick.
I didn't get a time, but it looked pretty good.
Seaton pitted while running in 2nd place. Hansford has rejoined in 4th spot.
1:04 was the pit stop time for the 30 Nissan car.
We were talking to Alan Moffat. I'm sorry. Thanks, Alan, for staying with us.
Oh, pleasure.
I was going to ask you, seeing that you've been here and caught up in all those years, and even back to last year, that qualifying business on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, everyone trying to go quicker and throw more tyres at the car. Has it been hard to harness your drivers this year, because you've come set up in conservative mode?
They've been very good about it, and I have to compliment all of them. I wouldn't want to single any one of them out. They've been very good. I've told them that's the way we want to do it, and quite honestly, I was throwing more tires on them than they were asking for. I think the ban on qualifying tires this year has been a super success. It's kept everybody in touch. We've been able to monitor one another, each team much more efficiently, apart from the waste of money. that we've had in past years. But I've been quite happy. Disappointed about not getting into the top 10. We might talk to the organizers about rescheduling Friday compared to what took place this week, but you always have a bit of a gripe when you don't make it. But I think the weekend's been a super success overall, Mike.
Alan, Gary Wilkinson, no argument with the O'Brien and Brancatelli combination, but a lot of people were intrigued with the Gary Brabham-Steve Millen driver combination. How did you come up with that one?
When I first started talking to the Brabhams, of course, I was disappointed when Jeffrey was hurt in an accident in Wisconsin. But I said to Gary, I want to get someone that you're going to be happy with. This is like any company business. You no use having two stars or independent personalities. You got to have two drivers that have got some simpatico, and they'll work together. And Steve Millen and Gary have been super from day one. Branca was a bit late getting here. Our Italian's not as good as it should be, but Charlie and him worked well all week. And standing back on the sidelines and watching it all happen, I know when the drivers are trying to be heroes or when they're trying to be too selfish. And it's a team effort that wins a race like the Bathurst 1000, mate.
Your Italian mightn't be too good, but his driving's not bad.
I'm sorry, Gary, I can't hear you too well.
I said your Italian mightn't be too good, but his driving's not bad.
I'm assuming you're saying you want me to go to the Italian Riviera after this race to polish up my Italian, are you?
Mate, if you could take this out today, you'd deserve a holiday.
We'll take all of Australia to the Italian Riviera if we win it, mate.
Okay,
cheers
Alan,
for now.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan, very much for those few moments. Alan Moffat, of course, we mentioned earlier, has won this race 4 times. He's been part of the Bathurst heritage, and we've seen drivers jumping in and out of cars all day, John Bowe and Dick Johnson. But of course, in those early days, they used to do them single-handed. With the 500 milers, Moffat would climb in the morning and wrestle a big GTHO around all day. And I think, seeing that we've spoken to Alan, you've seen Alan now as the race team manager. Let's cast our minds back to the mountain memory of 1970.
Winner, Alan Moffat, and a class winner on another occasion here at Mount Panorama. And it would be a thrill for him in this role now as team manager to take it out. Would be fantastic. Caltech's race score at the present time with the number 1 Nissan still piloting the field in the 2 1000, second place in the open category, Seaton and Hansford in the Peter Jackson Sierra, and the car 17 Johnson and Bowe, the Shell Racing Sierra, in 3rd spot. 3-litre category still led by Longhurst and Jones, despite the loose wheel from Tony. Fitzgerald and Holm, the teammates, in 2nd place, and Cotter and Dillman, big effort there, still running 3rd in the 3-litre category. In the 1600cc class, Full and Morris still leading. Forshaw and Vorst have moved up in that category to 2nd position, and Searle and Griffiths holding down 3rd spot.
Welcome back, or if you've just joined our telecast, it hasn't changed a great deal. Jim Richards and Mark Scaife continue to lead the way. There has been plenty of drama, however. The Corolla of Verhoeven and Vernon being pushed into the pits, shades of Bo Seaton back in the olden days. And there's John Smith in the sand at Murray's Corner. The Lansville Commodore of Trevor Ashby and Steve Reed, that tyre rubbing against the guard. They did make it to the pits. The Valvoline Sierra of Linnett, Scott and English, however, in the sand trap coming into the pits. Perhaps they were just a little too keen. Once again, in we go. In a rush, the 3rd Shell Sierra. The New Zealanders, well, the Kiwis have had their problems, and plenty of them. The Holden fans on the hill, and they're not exactly doing what the sign says at the moment. This is a number 2 car where we've seen right throughout the day it has its problems. Brake pads being changed here, and they've made a number of pit stops. While Terry Shield and Paul Radisich, their number 18 Shell Sierra, also problems in the pits. But as I said, there are no such problems for our leaders, Jim Richards, who a short time ago handed over to Mark Scaife. They are cruising around the mountain and enjoying every minute of it. Some are not enjoying it quite as much. Tony Longhurst and Alan Jones, a flat tyre here, the front right, but they do manage, however, to get back into the pits and back out on the track again.
Let's check the casualty count in the great race as well. Exit 11, Perkins and Mazera didn't even get started. 32, Tyndall and Stewart in the product GIO Commodore. Car 33, Pearson and Stewart also in the wall and out. O'Brien and Callaghan, the Everlast Commodore, still circulating, but they've had their problems, and the same goes for car 54, Sharp and Saltberger. Car 16 coming into the pits now was running in third position. Win Percy out of the car. Grice back in the seat. Last year's winners. Regulation stopped by the look of it. Clock ticking. Crew working furiously. Tyre change. Fuel in. Quick stop indeed. Good stop. Go, go, go. Pitted in third position, rejoined the race in fourth position.
And a stop of 27.31 seconds. That is a ripper.
Big effort.
And the
Alf and Tim Grant. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, father and son combo, Alf and Tim Grant from Brisbane. Running 17th on the road. What a marvellous experience it must be for a dad and his lad to come to Mount Panorama.
Yeah, a car of great historical significance. This thing was largely involved in Nissan's first touring car championship victory. It soldiered on against the Sierras and the Commodores at a time when it wasn't really competitive, but still managed to score a couple of wins with Jim Richards at the wheel before they moved on to the all-conquering GTR. So certainly Nissan's second most successful touring car, and it's been passed on to the hands of the Grant chappies, and it's going very well too.
Stationed about 300 yards down the road from Dick Johnson in South Brisbane, not the suburb of South Brisbane, but southern Brisbane.
Sponsored by Sizzler, and has given his sponsor a good run here this weekend at Mount Panorama. Coming down towards the 2WS sweeper, and it is running very, very consistently. Just sitting back there behind the 17 car of Dick Johnson. Oh, look at all this traffic. Got a, no, how much was... We're planning on taking a race cam cross, but I'm not quite sure.
Well, at least the Sierra, yeah, Dick gives him a wave and says, thanks, the Sierra knew that he was there. I don't think that the Corolla did.
Conrod Straight, Dickie Johnson. You're killing him, son.
Mate, I can sort of kind of hear you. It's not all that good, the reception, Mike, but we're just pressing on regardless. As a matter of fact, I had something to tell you. I just wanted to know whether you knew the difference between a pigeon and a yuppie.
No, but I'm sure you'll tell me.
I'm sure I will. Well, at least the pigeon can put a deposit on the Porsche.
Oh. I said before in the intro to you, you're killing them.
I don't know about that. The old brake paddy, the brake pedal's a bit on the mushy side. I've lost the goddamn drink tube, so I'm as dry as the handle on a wooden spoon.
I'm glad you cleaned that one up for us.
That's why I sound funny, mate. All my mouth sticking together.
Well,
the engine has gone fine, Mike.
That must give you some heart after a pretty wretched season in the Touring Car Championship. You found all that consistency on one day.
Well, we had so much drama in the lead up to this race you wouldn't believe. And thank heavens we found what the problem was prior to the race, prior to qualifying, because it was a fairly serious sort of a problem, which was, you know, as you know, electrical, that we had interference in our computer and it was blowing engines for us, which was not a nice thought. And there's Crompton's car stopped on the side of the road.
Whoops.
So other than that, we've had a pretty good run. The car feels really good. Other than that, the tyres are hanging in quite well. And all in all, it's just a matter of being able to stroke these brakes a little bit until the next stop, and I'll put some pads in.
All right, thanks for the interlude and the gag.
Not a problem.
Talk to you later. Dickie Johnson.
Meanwhile, both Moffat cars have had quick pit stops. Car 10 returns to the track in 6th position and car 9 holds 9th position. And there's Colin Bond. Sorry, Mike. Colin Bond in the pits. The pit stop has taken 50 seconds so far. Graham Crosby in the driver's seat.
In 8th position when they went to the pit for this change.
By the look of it, a bit of race tape going on the bonnet to hold it down. They might have a problem with the catch.
Got a problem here.
Yes. Neil Crompton, Brad Jones, number 7, the second of the HRT team cars, getting pushed to the side of the road.
Bond rejoins the race in 10th position. Dropped 2 spots there on the changeover.
Not much noise coming out of the number 7 one, Neil.
Pardon me, Mike?
I said not much noise coming out of that 7 car.
No, this is the new environmentally friendly Holden Commodore that doesn't make any noise or pollution.
What happened, son?
We're out of gas. Very high-tech problem.
Oh.
Switched the reserve on as we came up pit straight. And that was the first indication of the car coughing. And she only made it to the cutting.
Hasn't been the best of races, has it?
You have to keep grinning though, don't you?
Yes, grin and bear it. You were running 12th on the road. Park it safely and walk back. Commiserations, that was a good drive considering the problems you had in the opening laps.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I tried very hard. Obviously, it was unfortunate to get tangled up with the Gricey thing, but that's showbiz. And the car settled down quite nicely once again, and I drove quite hard as I dare, given that it's had an additional wheel alignment thanks to me and Brad. And, you know, we were able to hang in there with Dick and sort of split up Dick and Winnie. But anyway, next year we'll do a better job.
I'm sure you will.
Thank you. Bye.
Neil Crompton, you know, for all of the clever comments, you can tell by the tone of the voice, bitter disappointment.
Well, as you said earlier in the telecast, Neil takes his motor racing very seriously, and that would be a great disappointment for the kid.
And for Brad Jones. It was good to see 2 youngsters being given a go.
104 laps down out of 162 in the great race. There's Brad, and the disappointment's written on his face as well.
Time to put the helmet away. Brad at least gets a chance next weekend to bolt himself back into a race car and dominate a car. Well, I wouldn't say dominate a category, but make it interesting in the first round of the Oscar Summer Nationals at Calder Park Thunderdome next Sunday.
Well, it's not all bad news in the HRT camp. The Percy Grice car is still running in 4th position and still running quite strongly, I'm told, so there's still hope.
Jim Richards, Mark Scaife rather, has just given the slip to car 44, the Brian Bolwell Sierra, the one that had the wheel kept falling off. In fact, it fell off so often, stewards finally refused to let it return to the track until they found the problem and solved it. Brad Jones we just saw in the Holden team pit. I think we might try a little communications trickery. Brad, you've got a headset on there?
Yes, can you hear me all right, Wilco?
Yes, mate, got you fine, loud and clear. Crompton sitting up the top there in the car, very disconsolate, obviously, as you are. You want to have a chat to him?
Well, may as well. I haven't got much else to do here at the moment.
Neil?
G'day, mate.
How are you, Cromley?
All right, what's happening down there? Can you make some salad sandwiches for me, please?
Yeah, we've got them on the boil here. What have you done to my car?
We've run out of gas, mate.
Oh, well.
It's not over yet because I'm going to try and get the nose of the thing downhill so the pumps can pick up and then select reverse and smoke the bags, basically.
Back it across the top.
Yeah. Wasn't going too bad, was it?
Well, no, we were kicking a few goals, considering the handicap we got off to at the start of the day.
Yeah, with you in the car.
Yeah, and then you.
Sorry,
Thank
mate.
you, Cromley.
Listen, I'm going to make a horrible noise here for a minute, so go away and have a chat to Wilco about his hairdo or something.
Yeah, thanks. See you, Cromley.
Thank you, Crompton. You'll get yours, son. Yeah, Brad, it's... I don't know. I can't imagine what the letdown must be like, because it's a huge build-up, isn't it, to just come here and to mount a campaign like this and then to have this kind of thing happen.
You're right, Wilco. It is very tough. You mentally prepare yourself for it. You build it up over the week, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then when something goes wrong, it's just like a massive letdown. And you know, it's just obviously not our year. I really thought we had the package to do the job this year. Thought we'd run up the front all day, but unfortunately, that's not the way it is. And you know, now we just hope that he can get back and get in a few miles, learn some stuff next year when we come back, and hopefully do a little better. So I guess for me, it's just you you know, sit round, wait for him to come home, or get ready for next weekend.
I was going to say next weekend, mate, you'll be going round and round in circles again.
Well, I don't seem to have nearly as much drama, but we don't go quite as far. So, you know, I guess it's something that I'm really looking forward to, and a good result there won't be enough consolation for a bad one here, but it's better than nothing.
Okay, thank you very much, Bradley. We'll keep our eye on Crompton and see if he can do a rescue.
Yeah, let's hope he can.
Okay, mate.
There's Greg Hansford, car number 30, the Peter Jackson Sierra. Third on the road at the moment behind the Mark Scaife Nissan and Dick Johnson's number 17 car. And one slot ahead of Win Percy and Alan Grice in the Holden Commodore. So when we get a wide shot, we might just see whether Grice has been able to... we'll be able to pick that up on Conrod for you, because he was getting very, very close just as we got out of that interview with Bradley Jones.
By the look of it, the Peter Jackson Sierra looks to be going a little bit slowly. Word is that Percy has just passed him, so there may be a problem with the car.
Yeah, there's Percy disappearing halfway down Conrod Straight as the Graham Crosby.
Well, there would be a problem here. These guys only pitted a few laps ago.
The Caltech Sierra coming back into the pits.
Yes, and we've just confirmed that Grice has passed Hansford, so there may be a problem with the Peter Jackson 30 car as well. And yeah, the car certainly sounded very flat coming past the pits that time. It's a misfire, and I did notice it was belching some flame out of the exhaust as well, so there's an engine problem with car 30.
Four's in as well, the GIO Nissan GTR.
Looks like he's hit something, whether a rock's hit the headlight or something, but there's damage on the front of the car. And this is the pad change for the GIO machine.
Driver change, Rowan Onslow out of the car, Mark Gibbs back in. They've had a relatively trouble-free run all day. They were looking strong in 5th position when they came in for this stop. Yeah, they're giving something a nudge.
It fortunately just looks like a nudge and nothing more. Hopefully no damage inside the engine bay there. Well, they got it all strapped up with race tapes. That'll hold it together. Otherwise, a reasonably slick stop.
Really delighted for Bob Forbes. The car, of course, came into the pits with Rowan Onslow at the wheel. He stepped out, gave the ride back, of course, to Mark Gibbs. Car was 5th, rejoins without dropping a spot.
Bob Forbes, of course, himself a campaigner here at Mount Panorama many occasions in the past. And yes, it takes a big heart, doesn't it, to put up more than $500,000 to build one of these race cars.
And the other good thing that Bob has done, everyone has been screaming blue murder about Nissan brought a full race car or sports car, call it what you like, to run against touring cars. But Bob invested wisely. We'll wait for this little dice to develop. It is getting fairly close there. And he decided with the youth policy to go for Mark Gibbs, who was driven for him with the Commodore, and Rowan Onslow, giving 2 young guys a chance, and that's what the sport needs. So well done, Bob Forbes, and I hope you're rewarded with a place on the rostrum this afternoon.
Car 19 here is in 35th position. Grice is in 3rd position. Let's hope, yes, he does the decent thing and gives him right away as they line up on the straight.
There's Gricey, 49 years of age. Doesn't everyone live in Queensland?
Yep.
Career highlights: Australian Sports Sedan Champ 78-79 on the Amscar Touring Car Series in 82, and of course the Tui's 1000 in 86 and 90, a dual winner, then backed up to win the James Hardy 12-hour race here at Easter. Did very, very well, so he's had 3 major endurance wins here at Mount Panorama.
I'll tell you what, if you could get up to win today, you'd have 3 wins at Bathurst within 12 months.
Yep.
Last year's victory, then of course victory in the James Hardy 12-hour production car race, and if you can do it again today, that would be an extraordinary feat. Looking a little bit worse for wear, a little bit battle-scarred, the lead 16 HRT Commodore. This is the car that carries the hopes for the factory team. And Grice still on the job. Let's have a look at them. On lap 107, Richards and Scaife still lead. Johnson and Bow hunting them down, though, 1 lap behind. Percy and Grice in 3rd. Seaton and Hansford in 4th with an obvious engine problem. In 5th, Gibbs and Onslow in the GIO Nissan. Brancatelli and O'Brien in the Moffat car. In 7th, Longhurst and Jones still hanging in there in the BMW. Millen and Bradman in the second Moffat car in 8th. Fitzgerald and Holm in the second BMW in 9th. And rounding out the 10, Radisich and Shield in the Shell Sierra.
And after 107 laps, 11th place held by Bond and Crosby in the Caltech Sierra. Position 12, Waldock and Peters, the Placecape Sierra, having a good run. Jones and Crompton, well, question mark over them in 13th spot. Moore and Delcourt in 14th, car 22, good run. Price and Walden in the Nissan GTR 2 car in 15th place at the present time.
16th spot, car number 15, Smith and Morgan in the Toyota Supra. Grant and Grant, dad and son, running 17th. 18th, Johnson and Johnson from Atherton. 19th is 21, Jones and Emery in the Commodore. 20th, car number 27, Finnegan leads in the Foodtown Supermarkets Commodore. 21st, 05, Brock and Madecki. 22nd, Full and Morris. Now that's a climb up through the placings. 23 is 24, Donaher. 24th is car 26, Hendrick and Lambden in the Gem Spares Commodore. And 25th is 34. Father and son, the Golsons.
26, Sala and Lusty. 27th, car 52, Cotter and Dorman, the little BM. From 28th, car 77, Forshaw and Vorst. 29, car 71, Searle and Griffiths in the other Corolla. And position 30, Ashby and Reed with some problems in the Commodore.
Car 43 is in 31st position, Bolwell and Abrahams, as long as the wheels stay on. Car 32, English and Scott in 32nd position, car 12 rather. Car 73, Holden and Altonen hanging in there still in 33rd spot. 34th position, Wright and Dunford. 35th, Scott and Taylor.
36, Verheyen and Vernon in the Corolla. Then the Bates boys in the Corolla. Running 37th, 38th is Perkins. We can forget them after there because that car is gone. O'Brien and Callaghan are back out after a very, very long stop. Barrow and McIntyre in the Queensland Plastic Sierra continue as long as the wheels hang in there.
Car position 41, car 35, Parsons Park. Obvious problems early in the race. Position 42, Wilmington and Awadullah. 43, Jansen and Gazzard. 44, Pearson and Stewart. And 45, Sharp and Zeltweger.
And just to finish it off, Sala and Stratton only covered 28 laps, and no show, your worship, for Tyndall, Stewart, Conway and Gardner to round out the full field in the Tooheys 1000. We'll be back after this.
Colin Bond, car number 8, the Caltech Sierra. This is a replay of exactly what happened or what led to the pit stop. Have a look. Ang. Deary me, recover that well. Just got wide. Coming out of Tooheys turn. Went into the pits. Now back on the racetrack running 12th. We pick him up coming over the skyline through the 2WS sweeper. The Corolla separating he and Greg Hansford. Hansford in the 30 car. 73 is of course the car we've been talking about during the day. The two veterans, Bob Holden and Rano Altonen. When you put two past masters and all that experience together into a small car class, you've got to go somewhere. And I'd say they're enjoying reliving the good old days today.
Yes, these guys go down in Bathurst history. They ran the little Morris Cooper S's here in 1966 when those little BMC machines dominated the race. 25 years ago that victory was, and they've teamed up again today. Mind you, they're still active on the racing scene. Rano Walton, he's 53 years of age. Works as a senior instructor for BMW Advanced Driving Safety, and also, little lock with the brake, teaches the German police advanced driving as well. Also competed in the Spa 24-hour race, I think, as late as last year, Richard.
Yeah, he's actually better known really for his rallying exploits, more so than his racing. But he was quite a rally driver in his day, especially in the Little Minis.
He's been a factory driver for a number of different manufacturers over the years, and of course his co-driver Bob Holden is the oldest guy in the race at 58 years of age. So you're never too old.
Bob's been here since they tar sealed the road. And a lovely bloke too.
Little Toyotas, nothing really to compete with them in the baby class.
There certainly isn't. They're all Corollas in the baby class, so maybe can guarantee the Toyota's going to have success in the under 1600cc category today. Well, they are fabulous little cars. Bulletproof's the word, and great car for a privateer. 1600cc engine. This particular model's front-wheel drive, even though there's two other variations out there. The oldest one being, of course, a rear-wheel drive car, and they're a good little thing to have around here.
And the Dulman 52 car.
Dulman and Cotter. in the BMW M3. This is, of course, the version before the Evolution 2 that the B&H cars are running. Has the smaller 2.3 litre engine, smaller wheels. Not quite as much power or performance, but these guys were looking into the prospect of updating these cars to Evolution 2 versions during the year, and I think the cost worked out to something like $400,000. So they decided against it, not surprisingly.
Yeah, the earlier model is about 50 horsepower down on the Evolution model and doesn't have the adjustable wings.
Gee, they're doing well though. Position 23 outright, third in the class. So another good effort from these guys. They always put the car together well for Bathurst.
The news in that the number 30 Peter Jackson's era, Greg Hansford, dropped to 4th. They're trying to stretch it out to their next pit stop rather than come in early. They have a reoccurrence of the problem they had at Sandown, where they had to come in and change a spark plug that fouled up. It's almost unbelievable. In these high-tech days of motorsport, that can still happen. But as the Cotter and Doolman car running third in its own class, we'll check them out for you in the Caltex race score. Here's the top 10. Jimmy Richards, Mark Scaife in the Nissan GTR, lead over Johnson and John Bauer in the Shell Racing Sierra. Third, Win Percy, Alan Grice, keep an eye on them in the Holden Racing Team Commodore. Fourth, Seaton and Hansford, the Peter Jackson Sierra. And fifth, the Gibbs Onslow GIO Nissan GTR. 6 is car number 10, Brancatelli and Charlie O'Brien in the Synovus Vitamin Sierra. 7th, 25, Tony Longhurst. And, of course, Alan Jones in the B&H BMW. 8th is car number 9, Steve Milne and Gary Brabham, the Synovus Sierra. 9th is 20, Peter Fitzgerald, Denny Holman, the Benson and Hedges BMW M3. And 10th, car number 18, Paul Radicic and Terry Sheelan. We'll be back in just a moment. 1000 continues. Lap 114 of 161. And Dick Johnson in car number 17, still second in the great race, behind the Mark Scaife, Jim Richards Nissan GTR. We believe a pit stop not too far away for the Johnson car, probably a pad change, I would think. When we were talking to him on race cam, made reference of the brakes or lack of them. He's up there, and he's in the right spot if anything goes wrong with the GTR this afternoon.
He's also managed to eke out his fuel extremely well. The gaps between the stops have been huge, and he could well be in with a chance of just a splash and dash stop at the end.
He's weaned it. And it looks like a driver change. John Bauer, rent a body.
Yep, John's a fit bloke. And he's certainly earning his money today. Started off in the 18 car, then switched to the 17 car. Almost immediately had to jump in the 17 car when it came into the pit, so he's done a lot of miles.
They have to be calculating the amount of time he spent at the wheel.
What if he charges per lap? Meanwhile, the number 1 car is doing 2 minutes 17 laps consistently. It's been able to increase its lead on Dick Johnson to 1 lap and 2 laps on the third placed Bryce Percy car. So Nissan are doing what they wanted to do. But it's interesting, this is just on 4.5 hours into the race now, and it was about this time last year that the GTR struck that transmission problem which sidelined it.
Well, let's hope that they have a trouble-free run here this afternoon.
Yeah, as far as the GTR is concerned, this is all new territory from now on till the end of the race.
It's also true to say that if you talk to most of the people that should know, if they have a problem, if they have a weakness, then it could well be in the transmission department.
Well, there comes Dick Johnson, ready to come into pit lane, getting ready. You'll notice when he straightens the car up, the belts will come off on the run-up pit lane now. There you go, belts are released.
Dick Johnson coming in 2 laps ahead of schedule. And John Brady's on the scene.
Yeah, thanks very much. Dick in, as you say, 2 laps ahead. The reason is that spongy brake pedal he talked about. They've already changed the pads on this car once. Now, they had them on standby if they thought they'd get any help out of changing them again. They've obviously decided not to. The problem's in the hydraulics. They're going to try and run with that, get by on the spongy pedal. It's still working enough. The interesting thing is, as was mentioned about the splash and dash, they've now worked out they will need 1 more stop at the end of this race. It will be a 10-litre stop of petrol. That's all they'll need to stick in the car. It will be a very, very quick one. So if all goes well according to this one, and it looks like doing just that, In fact, it's done very, very well indeed for this change for them. If this spongy brake pedal holds out, they will have one very, very quick pit stop left.
Thank you, John. Johnson pitted while running second. John Bow into the car. They rejoined the race in third place.
41-second stop from the Shell team. Very slick from that crew. And that, of course, moves Alan Grice up into second position outright.
There's Dick.
At last getting a drink after he lost his drink straw in the car.
He'd be fairly dry. So's the sense of humour. So Johnny Bow settles in now in the 17 car. Up into Repco Bend. Johnson keeping an eye on the gauges.
Don't think all's well then.
Okay, John Bow, that's not very quick. He's absolutely just cruising around the top. Let's go down to John Brady, who's with Dick Johnson.
Yeah, Dick, spongy brake pedal causing you some trouble?
Spongy's not the word. Things, I don't know what's going wrong. The brakes are a little bit mushy, which, you know, you can still press on, though. I think the biggest problem is the engine's getting a little bit tired. Seems to be getting a bit fumy inside the cab, so we'll just have to stroke the thing along and see how we go.
The word is it's going a little slow around the mountain at the moment. Is that part of just nursing it along?
That's just part and parcel of trying to get the thing home.
You're hanging in there at the moment. Can you keep it going well enough to stay in touch with, you know, hoping something goes wrong with that blue thing down the bottom?
Well, the ignition certainly bolted, but the others are well and truly in touch, so it looks like it'll be a good race to the end.
Could have a few fingers crossed.
I hope so.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you, John Brady. Car number 77. Coming up the mountain.
Another one of the massive Bob Holden Corollas that come up here every year. I think there's 4 of them here this year. Jeff Forshaw and Richard Vorst. And all the Bob Holden cars seem to be running pretty reliably today. With the big cars still in the limelight, it's hard to keep your eyes on them, but you always see the Corollas flashing past at regular intervals. And this is a good run from these guys.
Well, it must be running reasonably quick on the side, as you see. It comes across here, it's lost its numbers on one side. They've almost jumped off. So it continues. The battle is well and truly alive in the baby car class, but you can really see the speed difference.
It's a difficult job for these guys, especially on this part of the circuit. Not only do they have to look where they're going, they have to keep one eye in the mirror all the time for the quicker cars.
Oof. Lee, this just gobbles him up there.
John Hewson, who joined us a little earlier today, having a chat with Dick. They're old mates. And Dick, I think, would be just a touch worried about the drop in speed from the number 17 car with Johnny Bow taking over. Oh no, the pace is up again now.
Yes, it looked like John was just taking it easy to settle himself in on that first lap. But by the looks of it, up to race speed, the engine sounds sweet. It certainly didn't sound nice on that first lap around. I was a bit concerned. But back up to race speed and back in the hunt. And you can see it's hard work inside these cars. Enormous temperature soaking through the floor. There's no carpet or insulation to keep the heat out of the cabin. You can see that large air duct just next to John's left knee, blowing cold air directly onto his body and his face to try and keep the temperature down. It's hard work.
Car number 24. Been in the thick of it throughout the day.
Heason Engineering Commodore VL. Donaher, that's Laurie Donaher and his son Michael. Immaculately presented car. It's the outdated version. A lot of guys are running VNs. This is the old VL. And this is even the pre-Walkinshaw model that was successful here last year. Laurie Donaher, successful Group N competitor, I should say, or Appendix J as it's more well known. Used to run something called an ISO Revolta, big V8 Italian sports car. with a lot of success, and there's a problem there. Looks like the Verheyen, Vernon Corolla being pushed to the side of the circuit. We'll get back to that.
That's the Pete of the Verheyen car. John Vernon has been pushed out of contention. Yet another father and son combination, the Donahers. Gee, that was a wide brush.
Using all the road.
Yes.
We just had word Bowers lapping in 2:24, which is pretty slow for this side of the race. Anyway, Richards and Skate continue to lead the great race. Percy and Grice have locked into second, and Johnson and Bow pick up third in the outright division. In the other class, Longhurst and Jones obviously dominating the up to 3 litre class. Fitzgerald and Holm in there in second, and Cotter and Dillman holding up third place in their privateer BMW M3. And in the baby class, Jeffrey Fall and Paul Morris, a great effort this, leading the class from Forshaw and Vorst, and in third, Searle and Griffiths in the other Corolla.
1000 continues in one direction, while car number 19 is the Kane Scott Dick Johnson, or ex-Dick Johnson car, on lap 120 of 161, has obviously run through with problems and trying to park in safety. In the meantime, no, Neil Crompton isn't just sitting there doing nothing. I believe you've been busy in the last couple of minutes.
I've had a bit of a sprint down to the bottom, caught a utility, caught a chopper, got some fuel, caught a chopper again, caught another utility, had a sprint back up the hill. But now someone's unfolded a rule book, and they say I'll be charged if I drive out onto the circuit. All I really wanted to do, Mike, was put the car back down the bottom of the pit lane, but they've dusted off rule 4,437 that says you can't do that. In fact, what I wouldn't mind doing is having our blokes double check and see what the story is to that.
Okay, we'll follow that up through the clerk of the course, Alan Horsley, who is running our race centre here. We'll be on to that to see why you can't.
All I want to do is basically put the car back down the bottom, that's all, because there'll be nothing left of it after 4 o'clock up here if you leave it here.
That is true. All right, we'll come back and tell you what the latest is.
Okay.
Okay. Nissans have led all but 5 laps of the 120 laps already run in the great race.
Bob Jones and Mike Imrie circulating in their Commodore.
Yes, Bob Jones ran this car last year with Heather Spurl, the fastest woman on water. So we had a few problems up here last year. The wheels were falling off the car and all sorts of problems going wrong.
Well, she didn't have a great run last year.
But Bob has returned with the Car Trek Commodore, with Mike Imrie as co-driver, and they're hanging in there.
Another one of the Commodores. It continues in today's race. Interesting, only a short while ago, a joint statement issued by Holden and Ford in relation to touring cars, with Ford and General Motors saying that they were concerned that no clear regulations for touring car racing for 92 and 93 have yet been announced by CAMS. We're trying to see clarification on this. Both companies have obviously been working with CAMS for many months to assist the drafting of regulations involving locally manufactured volume-selling V8 engine cars. Now, the draft regulations, which someone came up, relating to a 2-litre or a 2.5-litre formula, according to GM and Ford, are too poorly defined to establish a position on that participation. Very interesting, though. Ford and Holden together in a joint statement calling on CAMS to issue final regulations for 1992 and 1993.
Just got a brief glimpse then of car 77 parked by the side of the road. Jeff Forshaw, Richard Vorst.
Meanwhile, the Hansford Seaton car still sounds a bit off song. It's still running in 4th place, but that misfire we picked up 10 or so laps ago continues.
It sounds awful.
It's all that crackling and popping as it goes past, so whatever it is, it's getting progressively worse.
The team believe that it's a plug problem and that they'll be able to cure it at the next pit stop, which won't be very far away now.
Overtakes the Bob Jones Commodore, running in 17th place, but the Hansford continues in car 30.
Yes, it's making a heck of a racket.
is just about to come past our commentary position. It's making some awful noises. Yeah, it's really struggling now. Problem becoming progressively worse, so I guess a pit stop will be on for these guys very shortly. And that's a great tragedy for Glenn. He's run very strongly all year. When we came up here last year, a very strong effort, and he had a problem which he's never had in the Sierra, the clutch problem. Clutches on both cars gave him difficulties. Now he's got this misfiring problem in a car which has proved unbeatable all year. And seems to be some atrocious Bathurst luck following Seaton around.
There's the 19 car still sitting up there. Word we had from the top of the mountain that the battery cable had been cut by the tail shaft. That's the best weirdo that we've heard for the day. But anyway, I mean, that is the word that came through from the top of the mountain, from the point up there.
Well, one Sierra in problems there, just passed by another one. It's Hansford now. Comes across the top.
You can see the way the thing's popping flames out of the exhaust on trailing throttle, which is not the normal thing you'll see on a Sierra. And the engine certainly sounds sick.
And he'd be due into the pits within the next couple of laps.
Well, Glenn Seaton is ready and waiting in pit lane, so the pit stop is very close indeed. Still running in 4th position, but a pit stop due very shortly.
So Greg Hansford down. We'll check them out on the Caltex race score. Richard Scaife continued to lead over the Percy Grice Holden Racing Team Commodore. Johnson and Bow run in 3rd. Seaton Hansford bubbling along there in 4th. Gibbs and Onslow and the GIO Nissan up to 5th. Brancatelli and O'Brien are in 6th spot. 7th, Longhurst and Jones in the BMW M3. 8th is car number 9, the second of the Moffats and Over Sierras, Millen and Brabham. 9th is 18, Radisich and Shield. And rounding out the 10, car number 20, Peter Fitzgerald and Denny Hulme.